April 18th, 2026. While we've been discussing a lot about the war and so forth, there's another thing I want to kind of get into, which has been on my mind for a long time, and I'm kind of titling it, basically Fear 2029. And here's what I'm getting at. Things are looking actually pretty good in the real world if you get away from the left wing media garbage. I mean, the economy's in pretty good shape right now. We have a gas price spike because of the conflict, but that'll be abated eventually. I'm fairly sure. Um, Maybe not as soon as some news reports of on Friday would have suggested, but But anyhow, but you know, the things are going fairly well. But behind the scenes here, we have a real problem. It's called the Democrat Party. This is, it's easier to destroy something than it is to build something. You know, you could spend years building something, and one 2,000-pound bomb could just blow it up in an instant, right? Um, and so my point here is that the Democrat Party uh, seems to be hell bent on absolute destruction of our country and our American traditions. And the problem I see is that come 2029, there's a fair chance they are going to be fully in control of the country, just like they were in 2021. Except that the difference is you're not going to have how would I say, a mansion or a cinema to block them ending the filibuster. And meanwhile, the Republicans gleefully are wanting to end the filibuster now. But when that happens, the absolute logjam will be broken, and they will be in a position to do quite the opposite of the Save America Act or whatever. They will be able to legalize in mass these illegal immigrants. They will be able to pack the Supreme Court with left wing judges that don't give one rip about the Constitution. They will be able to add new states to the country, such as D.C. and Puerto Rico, and who knows what else. After all, at one time, everybody thought that Obama misspoke when he talked about 57 states. I don't know he misspoke. He might have had some other places in mind too. And so the result is each of these new states adds two more senators, and the ones they're going to pick will pretty much have Democrat senators. And so the result is going to be a situation where our rights will be overturned almost systematically. Um, Taxes will be raised. Um, and they'll lock in a majority with all these legalized immigrants that they brought in. And we're getting some out, but we're not going to get enough out to prevent them from doing what I'm talking about. And they'll be able to lock in an absolute majority, probably ban voter ID laws, and generally just wreck everything. I mean, these people are the greatest threat to the country there ever is. I saw a thing on X today where somebody listed, what's the greatest threat to the country? Is it Islam? Is it the Chinese or the Russians or whatever? And one of them was the Democrat Party. And I say that is it, because this is not the Democrat Party of Bill Clinton. Whatever you think about Bill Clinton, not exactly a totally moral and upright person, perhaps. But the point I'm getting at, he was not nearly as maniac as these people we have today are. I mean, look at that crazy candidate they got in New Jersey that's running in this special election. And it sounds like people think she's going to really win against a guy who's a moderate Republican who probably won't go along with a lot of things we want, but nonetheless, and this was a district that had been pretty much a moderate district previously. So, things are degrading in a very serious way. I mean, already there's this attempt to, all these voter referendum trying to turn around and create, a more partisan gerrymandered districts. Now, of course, this is one of the things where the Republicans, I think, made a big mistake because, well, are we going to net out any gain in this? At best, it'll be probably a break even and just have a more polarized world than ever. And there's no guarantee that things will go our way in these elections either. It seems like the Democrats are much better at subterfuge than we are. And so I see a situation where the country is really going to go into a pretty bad tailspin after 2029. And the only way to stop it would be for the Republicans to maintain control. But will they? That's the problem here. I mean, our current control is largely based on the persona of one man, Donald J. Trump. And he has won this last election, and, okay. But he didn't bring any coattails to speak of. We actually ended up with a smaller House membership than we had. I guess he did get a little bit in the Senate. But, I mean, basically, but right now we're looking at a situation where it's possible the Democrats almost certainly will end up taking the House. I don't see how we stop it. I mean, unless a miracle happens. And the Senate, everybody's saying, is in play. I'm not so sure it will really be, depending on how this war comes out and whether we can finally get off of this and get back to domestic issues in a meaningful way. But I really see that everything is in danger. I even see that freedom of speech is in danger. Yeah, gun rights are definitely going to be in danger, but I think speech itself will be in danger. These people do not want opposition. They are fundamentally neo-Marxist. They actually want an authoritarian system. So that's basically my appeal here, that we've got to go all out to support the Republican Party, even though candidates you might find somewhat obnoxious. It's still better than them. And people don't seem to see that. These guys are really bad. Even somebody who, like Chuck Schumer, who is a leader who used to have at least some responsibility, is so intimidated by the ultra left wing in his party that he's going along with them lock, stock, and barrel. Every day, they want every day to vote to basically take away the right of the president to continue what's going on in Iran in the middle of the conflict, when we're already committed, when it's already in. That would mean we'd literally lose. And lose in a way which would shift the geopolitical balance of power in a fundamental way. And the fact they vote for this shows you that they have no concern for the real future of this country at all. They're absolutely nuts. Now, should we have got into that war? If you follow my video sometime back, on the edge of war, I expressed my grave reservations about doing this. Personally, I don't really necessarily think it was worth it. And and by the way, for the people who think about Israel, I don't think it's good for Israel either, by the way. I see some real downsides for Israel in what's happened here. It might look good right now, but I think that you're getting a situation where they're polarizing the entire world against them. And that's not going to be good in the long run, particularly when the Democrats get in. So, at any rate, and I'm not saying they will get in, but statistically, it generally turns over. And now I think it's turning over a little bit more rapidly because people are basically voting against what's in now. They're not really voting for anything. I don't even think that the election last time was so much a vote for Trump, really, in terms of the majority that occurred. It was actually a vote against Biden and a senile presidency and all the goofy things he was doing. But now we're doing enough things that got people agitated. You see that's the problem we've got. At any rate, that's just some thoughts I have. And so I urge everybody to contribute to, well, I'm contributing to the Senate, National Senate and Republican Senate Committee and the National Congressional Campaign Committee, because when you're getting outside of your own district, they generally allocate funds to people that are in winnable districts where they need some more support. You can pick your own, obviously support the candidate in your own district and your own state, and once in my state the primaries are settled, I'm going to support them, but whoever wins, regardless of which one it is. I have a personal preference, but it's not so much I would not support the other person, because blocking the Democrats is the key thing. After that, we can see what we can do on the positive side. So anyway, that's my thought on that. If you like these videos, please give me a like, subscribe, and click the bell for notifications. Or you can follow me on Rumble. And so now we can get on to a few other contemporary issues. As far as the war itself, I think everybody wants me to... Okay. I don't know. Trump is saying as of Friday that it looks like that we've got a really some kind of breakthrough in the works, sort of, maybe. But what we're looking at here is, okay, the Iranians say that the Strait of Hormuz is open, and we say it's open, but our blockade remains in place, and people still have to go through them in order to actually safely go through the Strait of Hormuz. That doesn't sound very open to me. Of course, Trump makes a lot of sense on the fact that he wants to kind of not really open end the blockade until we have a firm deal in place. And it is one of the other issues is, of course, will they be able to follow through on what's negotiated? I mean, there's a lot of radical people in a somewhat disrupted country, so I don't know if their command and control is firmly in place. One of the downsides of counter control targeting, which we've engaged in so much in this conflict, is is anybody left to really lead the pack anymore? But assuming there is, maybe we can get a deal, or maybe the other theory is that Trump is just trying to get the oil prices down as we go into the weekend so that they don't pop up at least until something goes wrong earlier next week. So we don't know. That remains a little bit of an interesting issue. The other bugaboo, I'm still kind of looking at this whole thing about the plan to actually get possession of the 60% enriched uranium hexafluoride that the Iranians have created, which is kind of interesting. Everybody keeps calling it dust, which really kind of annoys me. Maybe just because I know a little something about science. Maybe that's the problem I have. But anyhow, it's not dust. And you're not going to get it with a vacuum cleaner, I don't think. So anyhow, but I mean, the real ability to retrieve that, particularly in Iran and the state it's in, and we're actually going to put American personnel in there and trust that they don't get attacked by somebody. I mean, to actually excavate this, how much effort would it be to do that? I mean, if it's all just sitting in a warehouse somewhere and we could just, have a plane sent in and pick it up and fly it somewhere, maybe to Russia, and then maybe from Russia to the United States or something like that, that would be a whole different issue. But the problem is that, well, we'll see. And we're still unclear exactly what the Chinese are really doing. We've threatened with a 50% tariff if they start rebuilding the Iranian air defenses, and it's unclear at this point what they are doing, if at all. So at any rate, and of course we have a powerful potential strike package in place if in fact the war breaks out again. But on the other hand, there is a possibility that we can kind of come to an end here if we just let the ceasefire remain in place and don't start shooting again, and then start having ships come through the strait. And if nobody shoots at one of them, then they could work. And I don't know. We'll see how they work out the deal on the uranium hexafluoride gas. I mean, I don't know. That's the real issue, I guess, is also enrichment. I mean, even if you got rid of all they have now, if they go back to enriching, then you're back in the business, and that's going to be an issue that, of course, we suppose they may have worked out a deal or not. I don't know, but at any rate, that's kind of that. So we'll just have to wait and see on that one. Be hopeful. But as the first part of my video, it's pretty critical to get this thing wrapped up and to have at least a plausible story to tell why it was a good thing after it's over with. Because then people will probably focus, if the gas prices come back down and people get to focusing on other issues, maybe. The key thing is going to be still to try to keep the Senate. And I would think some of the crazy candidates the Democrats are running might be defeatable if we could kind of get things calmed down a little bit. I mean, there's a real crazy guy up in Maine, and there's another crazy guy running in Michigan, and I don't know if Michigan is quite that radical. Maybe we'll see. After all, Trump won it, So anyway, so they may be hanging themselves, at least in this one. And of course, there's this Beshears guy in Tennessee who's kind of scary to me. If they nominate him, he could be a real serious candidate for the presidency. Oh, sure, he's so moderate, just like that lady in Virginia was so moderate. But if he gets in, he won't be that moderate anymore. Even if he thinks he's going to be moderate, he's going to find out he's not going to be. So that's another thing to consider. So anyhow, and I guess rumors are still abounding a little bit about that raid which rescued the weapon system operator of that F-15, but people thinking that maybe that was the small part of the bigger operation was really trying to get into one of those Iranian nuclear sites, and that somehow it come under heavy counterattack by the Iranians, and that's why the planes were neutralized and couldn't take off, and that's why other planes had to be brought in rather than them getting stuck in the mud or something, which a lot of people have argued that particular type of plane generally can get out of muddy situations. So, well, anyway, we'll have to see what happens. That's all for this time. I'll be posting this on YouTube and Rumble as always. And of course, the addresses of my social media accounts are in the description below. So all for now.